So I recently posted a photo on my YouTube community post highlighting how there was a Tesla that was spotted testing camouflage robotaxi prototypes ahead of its reveal on October 10th. And this photo has garnered a lot of interest, mainly because of the shape of the car. Now, of course, we see here that it's covered in yellow, there's a few bumps, and this is mainly due because Tesla is trying to disguise the vehicle. It's trying to make it unrecognizable, and that's very obvious. However, there's been a lot of speculation about this. For example, many individuals online are saying that you could see a bump and it looks like it's not a taxi sign, but perhaps LiDAR attached to the robotaxi. Now, if you don't know what LiDAR is, which stands for light detection and ranging, it's essentially a technology that uses laser to measure distances, right? It works by sending out laser pulses and then measuring how long it takes for the light to bounce back after hitting an object. Now, LiDAR has been used on a lot of the other autonomous vehicles out there. For example, Waymo uses LiDAR. Now, the interesting thing about this post here, this photo with this robotaxi, or excuse me, I was about to say Cybertruck, this robotaxi, is the fact that it does seem to have those bumps that may indicate that there may be LiDAR on the top of the car and even on the side of the car. Now, in the past, Elon Musk has pretty much attacked LiDAR technology, saying that, quote, it's fool's errand, and also mentioned how it being used in cars is freaking stupid. And so, unlike all the other autonomous vehicles, Tesla has pretty much opted out from using LiDAR and is pretty much just using cameras and AI in what they call FSD to go ahead and, have that autonomous driving. Now, what's pretty interesting is it does kind of look like this, robotaxi does have LiDAR, and it's interesting that Elon Musk has pretty much attacked LiDAR in the past, saying that it's freaking stupid, but then we also have something else that's pretty interesting, and that's the fact that earlier this year, Tesla bought over $2 million worth of LiDAR sensors from a company called Luminar earlier this year. And again, we see here Elon Musk previously dismissed the laser sensor as a crutch and said that any company relying on LiDAR to power self-driving was doomed. However, we have Elon Musk buying LiDAR in a large quantity earlier this year, and this is for Tesla, right? We're not talking about SpaceX or any of his other companies. This was Tesla that purchased a lot of these equipments, and then we have now kind of this camouflage vehicle that looks like it may have LiDAR on it. Now, of course, this is all speculation on whether the robotaxis will have LiDAR, but it's coming across pretty suspicious. Now, in the past, I mentioned that we were likely to see Tesla stock kind of rally up all the way until October 10th and then ultimately be disappointed by this event. And so far, we are indeed seeing Tesla stock climb up. And I do still believe that this may be very well a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event, especially because, first of all, this event was originally delayed. So there's this higher expectation for what these robo-taxis are going to look like, or how they're going to be able to perform, or how soon are they going to be available. And a lot of the Uber Tesla bulls are saying that FSD is going to be fully solved. Now, if we in fact just have just a little minuscule update in FSD and instead have a new vehicle that does use LiDAR, well, that's going to be a big disappointment. A lot of investors are going to feel very sour about this, including myself. I may even have to, ride this wave up in my long-term portfolio and once again trim my position in Tesla and rotate it into something else, especially because, if you're bullish on Tesla, you're bullish on the idea that they're going to solve autonomous vehicles. And now we're getting perhaps a U-turn from Elon Musk saying, hey, look, we may have to use LiDAR for fully autonomous vehicles for the robo-taxis. And of course, that's not good, right? Because a lot of the Uber Tesla bulls, right? And this is not me, this is a lot of the Uber Tesla bulls, they believe that FSD is going to be fully solved and they could go ahead and use their vehicles as kind of like an Uber that just picks people up and garners revenue or generates income for them. However, I don't believe that. I believe that we're likely to get a completely new vehicle, just like we see in this image, that's going to have LiDAR on it. Now, again, that's speculation, but that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. That's going to have LiDAR on it, and that's going to have like a geo range that it's kind of confined to, just like Waymo, and it's just going to be like another source of revenue for Tesla, and that's great. Of course, that's good news, but it's not the news that investors were looking to hear. We're not trying to just hear, okay, Tesla's just copying Waymo. That's not what investors wanted to hear. We want to hear the idea of FSD being solved and possibly being licensed to other auto manufacturers. And I think a lot of individuals are going to be disappointed, including myself. And of course, the reason that we don't like LiDAR, right? It's not just because Elon Musk has said it, it's because of like the cost for it, right? Because of course, if you have LiDAR in a car and you combine it with FSD, that would be great. But guess what? The price of the car would be significantly more expensive simply because it costs a lot of money to add these radars onto a car. You could turn a $30,000 car into now a $90,000 car once you add radars or lidars on it. And of course, that doesn't make it more inexpensive for individuals looking to hop into EV, and it's not really the best alternative, right? Now, of course, if the idea is just that this is the only way to get autonomous vehicles, then fine. But again, it's still a big letdown if that's what we end up coming to. And so we may end up seeing that LiDARs are on this vehicle and FSD may just be shown as kind of like a gimmick. I mean, if we have the robotaxis have LiDAR on it, that's just kind of concrete evidence that FSD may perhaps be a gimmick. So hopefully we're not disappointed. I'll go ahead and continue updating what's going on with Tesla, and we'll continue monitoring this price action as indeed we are seeing Tesla stock rise up. But again, it may be that buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. But now we also want to go ahead and touch on something else, because we're also starting to see markets rally based on this idea that we may get a 50 basis point cut in September 18th, and we're seeing the future markets now price in a 50% chance that we may get a 25 basis point cut or 50 basis point cut. And of course, the reason why everyone is very interested in what we end up seeing is not only that a lower rate environment would be beneficial for companies like Tesla and a lot of other companies, right, that are sensitive to interest rates, but we're trying to see, are we actually in a recession? Because if we get interest rates cut, or the federal funds rate getting slashed down and we're not in a recession, well, historically that's very bullish. But if we end up seeing rates get cut and we're indeed in a recession, well, that could be very bearish, very bad, just like what we saw back in 2001 and, during the great financial crisis. And so that's something that we want to be mindful of, and that's something that everyone is watching. And recently, we got an update from one of the biggest bankers out there, which is Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, warning that the United States may have this economic fate that's worse than a recession. So he's saying it may be even worse than what we expect. Now, I do want to mention that you should probably take what he says with a grain of salt. And I say this not because, I don't respect him. I think he's one of the greatest bankers out there, or CEOs of a bank, right? If you look at all the CEOs for all the large financial institutions, they come and go. He's been there for a long time. He knows what he's saying, but here's the thing. In the past, we've heard Jamie Dimon warn of a recession or some type of economic collapse. For example, if you take a look at this chart over here, we've heard this back in the bottoms where, of 2022, where Jamie Dimon said, brace yourself for an economic hurricane, or, and he said, this is serious. The United States is really likely to tip into a recession. What did we end up seeing? We saw the market move up an incredibly large amount. Now, again, Wall Street and Main Street are two different things, and I do agree with that. So maybe he's right. Maybe Wall Street right now, the stock market, is doing very well since the last time he made this warning, and Main Street, right, the everyday person is going to go ahead and feel it first, and then eventually that continues and bleeds into the stock market. Because of course, if your everyday person is feeling a recession, which really means that they don't have a job, because that's really the bloodline of the economy. I say this very often. If there's a scenario where someone doesn't have a job, they lose their job, well, Main Street is going to feel that, and guess what? That bleeds into Wall Street. And so that could lead to stocks falling down if people don't have jobs to make purchases. How can you buy a Tesla vehicle or finance a Tesla vehicle if UPS just laid you off, right? You can't do that, right? That would be very bad. But again, we have to take this with a grain of salt. Now, very quickly, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. You also get updates to my community posts, and make sure to check out the links in the description down below, because one of the links is a link to my free weekly market post insights, where every single week I send out an email, and this week we're going to send out another one talking about what are some things that we should be mindful of. With that said, I'll see you guys on this next video right over here. Take care, guys.